Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the newest Mike Flanagan movie called The Life of Chuck, an adaptation of Stephen King's novella of the same name. Coming into Life of Chuck, I had extremely high expectations given that it won the People's Choice Award at the Toronto Film Festival, which if you don't know is a major indicator of a movie that is going to be successful at the Academy Awards, and I'm just a huge fan of Mike Flanagan. I think that he made the greatest miniseries of all time called The Haunting of Hill House several years ago, and every time he releases a new miniseries, a new movie, I always circle it on my calendar to make sure that I see it the day that it comes out because he's just that good. He's easily one of my favorite directors working today. He has such a way of crafting these very meaningful stories and usually a horror concept. This one, definitely not horror. There are some supernatural elements, or I guess sci-fi. It's a little hard to explain, but the big question for me was, is this going to be as excellent as some of his other projects, or is it going to be like the one or two that maybe didn't connect with me as well? And with Life of Chuck, I wouldn't say that it meets my grandest expectations for a Mike Flanagan project, but it's still very much worth seeing. So let me go ahead and get into my pros of the movie. The first thing that I want to talk about is the script for this. Now, if you watch any Mike Flanagan project, one of his many series on Netflix or one of his movies, you know that his series, his movies have excellent scripts. Something I really like about the script in this movie, which is very consistent with some of his other projects, is that it'll be pretty casual, but then Mike Flanagan will just sprinkle in his now trademark long, extremely insightful monologues, and they'll just poke out in the fray of these conversations that feel very natural, and so you kind of buy into the characters as being real people, in part because of the great performances, but also because of the script. But then this insightful monologue will just find itself into the script and it feels very natural. And that's very much the case here with this movie that's asking a lot of big questions. It's making you ponder a lot of very deep thoughts just about life in general and the meaning of life. So I thought that it was very impressive, the script was. Plus, the movie is also surprisingly funny. I found myself laughing at several parts of the movie. So it's so hard to kind of toe the line between a movie that's trying to be very insightful and is for the most part successful, but a movie that's also trying to be funny. And Mike Flanagan once again shows that he has a knack for crafting these deep, insightful stories around characters that seem relatable. Something else is I just love the look and feel of the movie. Mike Flanagan films and television series have a specific look about them, and I don't know what it is. It just tickles my brain. I like it. Now, don't let the poster, the trailer fool you. This is not a Tom Hiddleston movie. He is part of a greater ensemble. Tom Hiddleston is maybe in 25-30 minutes of the movie on the whole, but the ensemble cast, I think, is very good. If I had to pick a lead out of here, it'd be the young actor who plays young Chuck. And I thought the kid that performed in that segment of the movie, focusing on Chuck's upbringing, did a great job. Mark Hamill is excellent here as Chuck's grandfather. He was definitely the breakout performer here. He's doing a lot with his character. He's playing a caretaker who's grieving, but also trying to raise this young boy. It's very impressive work. Mark Hamill is a pro. I mean, who's shocked? A couple of other standouts were, of course, Chiwetel Ejiofor, one of the greatest actors alive, and Karen Gillan during their segment of the movie. I mean, Chiwetel Ejiofor, I don't know how the man does it. He is constantly playing characters that are the smartest guys in the room, right? But he just makes it so dang relatable. He's such an excellent performer. I hope that he can work with Flanagan more because I really dug his character in this movie. And if you look at the cast list for this film, you'll see a lot of names or maybe see a lot of faces that look familiar to you. And while they may not be a huge role in the movie, Flanagan gives everybody a chance to shine. There is a memorable monologue in there for everybody, even Matthew Lillard, who you may remember as Shaggy from the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. He has a great scene just kind of sprinkled into the movie. He just pops in and then he dips, and I found myself remembering that scene after, and it's just there's a lot of performers that have that little like 5-6 minutes in there that you leave the theater thinking about. A part of this movie that I didn't realize was going to be so important were the dance scenes. Chuck loves to dance, and there's quite a bit of it in this movie. It's not a musical. Don't be scared if you don't like musicals. But there's quite a bit of dancing, and all of those scenes were very rousing. I thought that they were done very well from a camera work standpoint, from a choreography standpoint. I was very impressed by Tom Hiddleston and the young actor playing a younger Chuck, as well as the other performers performing dance scenes as well. But that was one aspect of the movie I didn't realize was going to be there really at all, and it ended up being a couple of my favorite scenes in the entire film. And in classic Mike Flanagan fashion, the ending of this is excellent. Anytime you get to the end of one of his projects, it leaves you on kind of a high. Not like a big action movie that has a huge high there and just leaves the audience, all revved up and ready to go, but sort of an emotional high where the deeper message of the movie comes to a head. And at the end of this movie, I left the theater emboldened to live my life to the fullest, despite any sort of circumstances. And I think a lot of other audience members are going to get that same sort of idea, because that's the overall message of this movie, or that's my big takeaway. And I thought it really worked here. Now, as for the cons with this movie, there's a lot I really like about the movie, but on the whole, I don't know what it is, but something was just missing for me here. I don't know what it is, because this movie is very philosophical. It provokes a lot of thoughts, but just isn't altogether, as a movie, the best at doing those things and forming a narrative, if that makes sense. It's a movie that's sort of like, not really, it's about something, but that something are all of these insightful philosophical questions that a lot of us ask ourselves that we don't realize we ask ourselves. And so, like, as an actual narrative movie, it doesn't quite work as well as I would like it to. It's a very broad movie. It's a very experimental movie, and I very much respect it in those ways, but just something about it didn't quite work and make me give this a 5 out of 5. This may not be entirely it, but maybe this is part of why I feel that way. This movie's an anthology. It's kind of an anthology movie. It's about Chuck, but the format of it is pretty different. So it's basically told in 3 different parts. I guess the 3 of them all felt pretty unique from one another to me, and maybe that's why the movie on a whole doesn't quite work. Like, each in their individual stories I thought were good and different, but as an entire piece of media, it on the whole doesn't quite work. I thought the third act was the best. I thought that it was a great, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. I thought it was a great coming of age story. The middle section I thought was interesting. It would definitely put a smile on my face. I liked it. But it didn't quite have me as hooked as the first or third acts. First act was a little bit more eerie than the other 2. It leaves you with a lot of questions that are later answered in the movie. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that I'm not a huge fan of anthology movies, and while this isn't technically an anthology movie, it kind of is. So with Life of Chuck, there's plenty that I love about it. Does it stack up with my favorite Mike Flanagan projects? No. Is it the worst Mike Flanagan project I've ever seen? Definitely not. It has good performances. It asks a lot of deep questions. It leaves you on an emotional high. But as an overall movie, I can't give it anything above a 3.5 out of 5. Just something about it didn't quite work all the way with me. I still enjoyed it. I still think it's a really good movie. I think it's worth seeing, and I think it's worth audiences going to watch the message. But if you compare it with movies that won the People's Choice Awards at other Toronto film festivals, I don't think it nearly stacks up to those. Still a really good movie. Check it out if you're interested, and thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you like this and you want to see more, and I will see you guys next time.